Now, there's also a problem with Medicaid. With respect to Medicaid, this is a situation, Medicaid expenditures are growing incredibly fast, and it's a matching program. Actually, the federal government is encouraging states to increase their spending on Medicaid. The Cato Institute, hey, let me tell you something. Politicians never have to have an original thought in their entire lives. Never. All they have to do is choose wisely among the ideas that are floating around out there. And I think the Cato Institute does a great job out there. Cato.org, it's really an excellent website. By the way, the Libertarian Party website is lp.org. Libertarian Party of Virginia, lpva.com, and mine is redpath2010.com, my campaign website, redpath2010.com. I put them in there because I didn't want to forget at the end not putting them in. But with respect to Medicaid, what should happen is that it should be converted, instead of a matching grant, to a block grant, a fixed amount of money, and then phased out over a 10-year period. I think that the care of individuals is best handled at the state and local level. This would give states time to adjust. Yes, their expenditures ultimately would have to go up at the state level, but I think it is best to get the federal government out of the Medicaid program. There are too many perverse incentives right now to increase federal expenditures and state expenditures in the Medicaid program. With respect to Medicare, I think the Medicare program ought to move to vouchers. I think that we ought to have vouchers in a Medicare program that would give the purchasing power to the elderly, and also allow people, it's crazy. If you get out of Medicare, you waive your Social Security benefits. I do not understand why it is that if you want out of Medicare, the federal government forces you to give up your Social Security benefits. That's crazy. What we need to do in this nation, we have far too much in the way of third-party payer. Third-party payer, the actual statistic here is that in 1965, third parties paid 56% of medical expenses in this nation. In 2001, it was up to 86%. It's still going up. It's in the ballpark of 90% now. And we need to move to a system where people, more like true insurance, we need people kind of like to have a policy with a deductible, kind of like auto insurance. We need to get away from where you have your health insurance at an employer. We need to get away from that. That is a fundamental tax reform and a fundamental reform of health care that needs to happen. But we need to have people be more responsible for themselves. We need them to pay, to have health insurance that is truly insurance, truly catastrophic insurance, to pay for large bills, and get away from the system where everybody's expecting from first dollar that their health care is going to be paid for by someone else. That's the big problem with this system. And one other problem with respect to going back to the flat tax for a moment, there's just too much debt in this nation. There's too much public debt, there's too much corporate debt, there's too much individual debt. We need to, one benefit of the flat tax would be that it would do away with the tax advantages of debt in our economy, and that's something that is very badly needed. A lot of our economic problems that we've had in the past and those that I fear that we'll have in the future are a product of too much debt, yet our tax system encourages all entities, individuals, corporate, businesses, government to take on too much debt, and it's something that needs to be corrected, and the best way to go about that is by ending the tax preference for interest in our tax code. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the main issue in this election. It's government spending. It's even a national security problem. There's no question about that. What if in the future we have a problem with respect to China, but they hold our debt? That's going to be a bad situation if we have to take a military action, which I certainly hope we don't, and see no reason in the foreseeable future that we'd have to. But that could present a very bad problem. It's happened in the past. In the 1950s, in the Suez Crisis, President Eisenhower manipulated the United Kingdom into doing what he wanted them to do in the Suez Crisis in the 1950s because he threatened to take actions that would harm the value of the British pound. he manipulated the UK economically into taking military actions that they didn't want to take but felt they had to for their nation's economic interest. We are at risk of being manipulated in the future in the same way if we do not restrain our spending, our federal government spending, and move toward a balanced budget and economic rectitude in this nation, which we are far, far, far away from, much too far away from. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention. I respectfully ask for your vote. William Redpath, Libertarian for U.S. House, come Tuesday, November 2nd, or by absentee if you vote earlier. And as I said, my website is redpath2010.com, and I want to thank you very much for your kind attention.